Noon, good evening to good folks. It's good to see you all again. It's Dr. Ramon Goings with the Done Dissertation. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 3 reasons you refuse dissertation coaching even though you are suffering. So if you are a doctoral student, I want to make sure that you take this and share this with 3 people that can find some value out of today's live stream. Because what I want to do is talk about the reasons why you won't explore coaching even though you really need it. And today's discussion just comes from talking with a number of prospective clients, seeing this happen with doctoral students at various Facebook groups and Twitter chats that I'm on, and just seeing a lot of folks just struggling in the process and going through this alone. And it doesn't have to be this way. But I want to talk about the reasons why you might still be thinking about that dissertation coaching won't work for you, even though you need it and you're suffering in the process. So again, I want you all to take some time, share this to 3 people who you think can find value out of this. I want to give everybody a second, a minute or so for folks to tune in. And again, it's Dr. Ramon Goins with the Done Dissertation. I'm looking forward to chatting with you all in a second. So definitely want to make sure you share this out with people who you think can provide and find some value out of this conversation. And for those of you who are tuning in on either Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, if you have any comments throughout the live chat as well as Instagram, if you have any comments, feel free to drop them in. I would love to have it be interactive, us to go back and forth. I want to definitely have a conversation about this because, like I said, I'm seeing a lot of folks going into this dissertation process struggling and trying to do this alone, even though if you just had some help and support, it would help propel you so much faster. But sometimes we get in our own ways for a couple of reasons, and there's 3 in particular that I want to talk about today. So I just want to share this out to a couple of folks. And again, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Definitely want to have a conversation. So again, if you have questions, comments, any thoughts that happen as you just going through, I'd love to chat with you about that. Hey, Dr. Ford, I see you joined on Instagram. It's good to see you. And so again, we want to talk about why folks are going through the dissertation process struggling and what might be at the impetus of that. So we definitely want to talk about this today. All right, here we go. Let's get started. So, what I wanted to talk about is the 3 reasons why you refuse dissertation coaching even though you need help. I've seen a lot of folks who have been trying to go through this dissertation process alone and struggling, and then not reaching out to your committee members, your dissertation chair, anything that could be very helpful to propel you forward through the process. Oh, great. Thank you, Dr. Forge. Said, thrilled to see you sharing solid info. Yes, I want to help folks to give folks some value so they could get through this dissertation process. We've spent too much money as doc students not to be done with this process because there's so many great things that await when we finish. And so what I want to do is start with is that one of the things that I see a lot of folks considering when thinking about a dissertation coach, and why a lot of times as doctoral students you might not go into this with like high hopes or thinking that it will work for you. Oftentimes, first thing I often hear from folks is that it's about the cost or the affordability of getting coaching. And I think this is so interesting that, folks often talk about the cost of getting help from whoever it is, whether you work with us or someone else, right? But the interesting thing is that what will happen is for a lot of doc students, you'll continue, and this might be your case. And if you're on this, if you're a doc student, and this is your case, drop me a comment. Is that you've been going through your program and you might be at the dissertation phase and been stuck for months, if not years. And all the time that you're in the doc program, not moving forward, and you're just spending and wasting tuition dollars. So the honesty about things is that your doctoral program is costing you each and every semester you don't. So when people talk about the affordability of a program, I often ask, well, how long have you been stuck? And then on average, folks who work with us, when they come to us, have been stuck in the dissertation process for 3 years. And when we look at folks' tuition rates across institutions that we end up working with, oftentimes we kind of look at it about $2,100 per dissertation per semester that a doctoral student is not getting through the dissertation process. And you look at over the course of 3 years being stuck like our average, folks are spending approximately about $19,000 in dissertation credits. For me, it just doesn't make sense to be, in the dissertation process and spending $19,000 and not to have any forward progression. And again, like I said in a couple of videos before, I've had a couple of prospective clients that actually reached out and they had been writing their dissertation for a decade. So since 2011, there were folks that had been writing their dissertation. And so when we talk about affordability in a program, I want you all to start thinking about, well, what is it costing me each and every semester, each and every minute that I stay in a doctoral program, not getting the help that I need to get through? And so what I would suggest is that if you're thinking about reaching out for a dissertation coach, right, I want you to first start thinking about what resources do you have in your own committee. So is that building a relationship with your chair? If you don't have one, you need to get one. And you don't have that relationship yet, you want to start establishing that. Or if it's an issue with your committee, you want to make sure that you have these relationships in place, because this is a people process. And the reason why you're spending a lot of money not having any forward momentum in your dissertation to show for it is because you haven't established and gotten those great supports to help you get through the process. And that starts first with your chair. But if you find that you're not getting that support, then reaching externally then starts to make sense. Because again, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to be stuck in a doctoral program and not get help, whether that's inside or outside your institution. And also, not only is it costing you money every semester, so like I said, on average, clients that end up working with us have been stuck for about 3 years. And not only is it costing you approximately $19,000 in tuition, but let's talk about what you're missing by just staying stuck in the process. And I don't only like to talk about what you're missing because you haven't finished, but I want to talk about what's ahead of you when you finish your dissertation. Right. When you become a doctor and you become an expert in your area of research, when you're an expert, you demand high dollars. And so with that, you got to think about a doctor, right? If you go to a generalist, if you look at kind of the salary scales of your your physicians, a general physician makes a certain amount, but when someone's a specialist in a particular area, because they have that expertise, they're paid more. And so you all are developing your expertise in your area of research. And with that, you demand a higher dollar amount when you go out for consulting, when you go to do speeches, all those things. And so I want to talk about, when we look at affordability of a program, I want to talk about what are you missing out on by not being done. And so I want to give you 3 different ways that you can make money with your dissertation immediately, that you, if you haven't thought about yet, you need to start thinking about. And this is the reason why you need to be done right now. And so if any of these resonate with you, please, again, drop it in the chat. I love to engage with you all. So the first way that you can make money by having a done dissertation is the fact that you can go out as a speaker and start talking about your research. So you can become a keynote speaker and go and present at conferences, whether that's, if you want to do that, you're in like the higher education conference circuit, whether you're in the K through 12 circuit, whether in your specialty area, whether you're in STEM, whatever it is, that there is a conference circuit for you in your area of expertise. And because of that, you could demand, getting paid for those talks that you give. And so starting out, I see a lot of folks maybe getting about, $500, maybe starting out, to, your established scholars. And when you really start doing, writing for publication, in addition to building your brand as a scholar, you can make up anywhere to over $5,000 per speech. And so let's just imagine, right? You start doing those once a month, or not even, let's say 3 or 4 times a year. You might have on the low end $2,000. Let's say you did 4 a year at $500. You have $2,000 in consulting a year as a keynote speaker, to upwards of easy to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. And I promise you, the top scholar in your discipline, I don't care what it is, they're commanding that top dollar. And I'm most certain that they're getting paid upwards of $10,000 per speech. And this is for an hour of time. So it's not like you're spending a lot of time with folks, depending on who you are and how you come to the work, right, and your expertise. So this is an opportunity for you to make money. But this is something that doctoral programs don't do a good job of telling you about. And so if you haven't heard this before about how you can make money, one way, again, is through keynote speeches. That's what we often see, right? The second thing that I think is very lucrative, but you all have to start thinking about it now, is like, if you take your research area, particularly what you maybe started with your dissertation or your research agenda more broadly, is then to start thinking about, well, how do I package this together to then provide consulting services for organizations, whether that be schools, whether that be, health organizations, whether it be hospitals. My clients have consulting contracts with all sorts of individuals and all sorts of entities, right? Even myself at the Done Dissertation, we work with individuals and we provide consulting for individuals, but we also provide consulting for doctoral programs. So we work with institutions as well through our university partnership program. So these are things that you can start doing when you have an area of expertise, but it takes you getting done with your dissertation. And it's so important. And as Dr. Ford says, very true, make money and have impact and build a legacy for sure. And it all starts with it, Dr. Ford. You could agree, if you know this from your work, that you have to be done first, right? You could do the publishing and things, but as you start to build your impact, it starts to grow with you as you grow in your career. But I would just hate for you all to be sitting in doctoral programs not getting the support. So again, the first way you can make an income and what you're missing out on by not being done is around speaking keynotes, is around consulting. And in that work, you can have meaningful work that makes an impact on organizations. And I'll give an example from my own research. So my work looks at diversifying the teacher and school leader workforce. And so what I was able to do is actually serve as a consultant for 3 states in the United States of America, 3 states in their state Department of Education around their teacher diversity initiatives. And so they were implementing policies, and given my expertise in this area, I was able to help guide them on how these policies could work, how they couldn't, what are some things they needed to change. And again, that's all built from our research area, and then providing that and packaging that to then provide impact for a school district, in this case, a state level education organization. So again, the opportunities are endless, but again, these are sometimes the things that you're missing out by not being done with the dissertation. And then thirdly, so we have our consultant, we have our keynote speaking, we have our consulting, and then we have our digital products. And so I think this is a place that as scholars, sometimes I think a lot of us leave it untapped, particularly around some digital products to consider are books. Whether you go through a traditional publisher or you self-publish, depending on what you're trying to do. So, if you're a faculty member, of course, there's tenure promotion. So you have to kind of do things the way the tenure promotion process works. So you might have to work within that system in terms of writing books with publishers, but also you should consider doing your own work outside of that through self-publishing. And here's why I say this, because the royalties that we get a lot of times in academic publishing is not that great. Even if you sell a lot of books, a lot of contracts, depending on who you are, you have abilities to negotiate. But sometimes your contracts would maybe say 8% to 10% of royalties on the books. And so you have to sell a lot of books to really recoup and make money from your academic books. However, from self-publishing, if you're willing to invest, I would say a couple $1,000s, like $2,000 to $3,000 to get your book printed, your book edited, and your cover done, all those things that you need to get a high quality book completed, you could definitely do that for $2,000 or $3,000. But on day one, you start making significant revenue from your book. So let's say, for instance, that your book is $25. It most likely cost you about $2 to $3 to make your book, and then about $3 to ship it to someone via media mail. So you're in $6. Your book costs $25, and you literally have made $19 from one product. And the great thing I like about books, when we don't think about it, is one product that you created one time that can sell forever. And it can outlive you, right? There's the books that we buy now who are no longer with us. And so this is an opportunity to leave a legacy, is through, these digital products. And I think that is very important, because when you're building your research area, you're not thinking about this writing your dissertation, but there's so much income opportunity. And let's say on the low end, right, that maybe sell a couple of books every year. Let's say you sold 50 books a year. That's doable, right? That's nothing to be mad at. And you could make upwards a couple $1,000s from your books. Upwards, there are authors making $10,000 to $100,000 on their books. Like literally, if you have a $25 product selling for $4, like think about how much money. I mean, a $25 book selling it for 4,000 copies. Think about that. You are in for $100,000 selling 4,000 copies of a book when you own the exclusive rights to your book. So again, the numbers can be very simple for you, but I think this is, again, part of the process that you don't think about. So when I hear folks saying the affordability of a program, I say, well, do you recognize how much money you're going to make on the back end? So literally, when you sitting stuck and not willing to get help, it's costing you about $40,000 over the course of, say, 3-year time period. It's cost you $40,000. When literally, if you invested in yourself with coaching, that might cost you, in the mid 4-figure range. Working with us is not cheap. Getting that, getting that support to get your dissertation done quickly in 1 year literally cuts off 2 years of you paying doctoral programs tuition and fees. So again, when you start thinking about can you afford a program, I want you to start thinking about what is the return on my investment? Because anything that you put out, I want you to think about it as an investment in yourself. And this is one of the reasons why I see that folks are suffering, because they find that they say that they can't afford a program. But let's be honest, when you talk about affordability, oftentimes we will be quick to go on a vacation. You see these days that folks are going to, it seems like Cancun. Everybody's in Cancun these days, right? And so we see folks going to Cancun, spending a couple $1,000s for Cancun, going on a trip for a week and have nothing to show for it. And this is something that was brought to me by one of my clients about a month ago. And they said, you know what? I got to start investing in myself because I'm quick to go on vacation. I'm quick to buy a car, a luxury car, but I'm slow to invest in myself to get through the dissertation process. And they said it doesn't make any sense because getting the dissertation done is an infinite ROI, infinite return on investment. So again, when you start thinking about affordability, I want you to start thinking about what am I missing out on by not investing in myself to get my dissertation done. So again, that is the first reason why I see a lot of folks struggling and suffering in private because they're thinking about affordability. So that is point number one. The second point I want to talk about, the reason why I see a lot of doctoral students suffering through the dissertation process and why you refuse dissertation coaching is around because you don't believe that you have the capacity to finish your dissertation and handle everything else that's going on in life at the same time. And I want to say, I know how this feels. I can remember when I was a doctoral student, I was a full-time teacher at that point in time when I first started my doctoral program. Then I transitioned into higher education as a staff member. But I remember at one point, my wife, I think she's still on live. She can put it in the comments. Like literally, I remember one time I was going to class. I was coaching the men's varsity basketball team in my school that I taught at, and I had a 90-minute commute to work and to school from work. So I would leave school at 3, drive an hour and a half to get to campus, to get to Morgan State, sit in my classroom from 4 to 10, and then get back in the car and come back home. So I know what it's like, right? Trying to manage all of the things that you have going on. But what I want you to start thinking about is it's not a matter of if you can finish or if you have the skill set to do it, right? I want you to start thinking about how am I going to do it given my life circumstances? I think it's a different mindset that you have when you start thinking like this. It's not a matter of like you don't think you can do it. It's a matter of, well, I know I have a lot of things that are going on, but how can I make it fit? And I'm going to give you an example. One of my clients is a school principal, and before COVID, we were in her school building. This is when I used to do in-person coaching, and we were in her school building, and we finished the session, and we're walking out of the building, and she said, "You know what? I'm running the school. I got to give my assistant principal some capacity in the building so that it can lighten my load as an instructional leader." And what she was meaning by that is that she found that she had to give her principal the capacity to lead more so that she could remove herself from the building to then focus on her dissertation. And that was the key for her progressing through her dissertation proposal. And I remember in particular, she wrote chapter 2 in a month because she had started giving her assistant principal the capacity, and then she removed herself from the building and literally started taking days off to focus on the dissertation, knowing everything she had going on in her life, in her circumstances. So I want you all to know right now that you are not alone in this process of having to do multiple things at once. It is definitely a juggling act for sure. And I see Renee just says it was a juggling act for sure, but a positive mindset is key. Yeah, babe, that was definitely the case. And I think a lot of students are experiencing or in our similar situation, trying to figure out how to manage this all, got work, busy lives, trying to do it all. But it can be done. I think the word that's going to be very important for you is communication. So as you're starting to think about how do you navigate this process, you have to be in communication with the people that are important to you navigating the process. So of course, when you think about this, you think about your dissertation committee, think about your dissertation chair. And I talk about their roles in my book, 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. But aside from them, I want you to start thinking about your accountability partners. Those should be the people who keep you accountable throughout this process. But most importantly, family and friends, people who are play a significant role to you having the bandwidth to finish the process. And so for some folks, this might be family. For other folks, it might be family and colleagues at work, particularly if you're in a leadership role. I know for a lot of my school leaders and even my higher education professionals who are leading programs and doing various things, particularly like I can say student affairs, who have a very kind of student-centered position where it requires a lot of their time with students. you really have to have conversations with your staff and family ASAP. I think this will be the key to getting you out of the process. And again, oftentimes when you start having these self doubts about I can't finish because I don't have this capacity because I have everything else going on. I want you to stop thinking about if you can do it, but start thinking about how you can do it and who do you need to do it. And once you start thinking about the how you can do it and who needs to help you do it, it becomes so much easier. Then you can have conversations with people. It becomes this exchange of ideas. And you may have family members that say, hey, I'll take the kids for a little while you do your schoolwork on Saturdays. Or I'll take the kids on the weekends. Or maybe you and your spouse switch up, or whatever it is, your situation. You can provide some support. Or it might be like, you might invest in Instacart. You find that you're spending an hour and a half, 2 hours getting groceries. You might have a couple extra dollars to pay that fee to reclaim your time so that you can focus on your dissertation. So again, it's these little sacrifices that really get you to the finish line with your dissertation. But if you go into this process thinking about if you can do it, that self-doubt will creep in. It will manifest itself through everything you do. So again, the goal is not if, the goal is when and how and who you need to help you do it. If you start adapting that mindset, I promise you that you will finish this dissertation in record time. And so again, just to recap, our first reason why you refuse dissertation coaching, even though you're suffering, is this idea that you can't afford the cost of getting help. But that, again, is a mindset shift. We invest in everything else, but invest in ourselves last. What sense does that make? So I want y'all to start thinking about, why am I not investing in myself, and really peel back the layers of why you don't think you would like to invest in yourself. And I think part of that is about the fact that you might not, which is our second point, that you might not believe that you can finish your dissertation given everything else you have going on in your life. And I want to let you know, I have so many clients that are doing it and doing it with ease because they have really believed in themselves and really believe that they can do it with everything else that they have going on. In our program, we have current teachers, school leaders. And with that, I do need to give a special congratulations to one of our clients, Dr. Shanina McDonough, who just finished and defended her dissertation last week at Howard University and is getting her doctorate in educational leadership. And so she's a great example of this, where Dr. McDonough is a school leader and was assistant principal when we first started, and then sent it to principalship and had completed her dissertation while being a principal. So again, and having 4 children and having everything else going on in life, she is just amazing, right? And so this is not uncommon. Your situation is not uncommon to have a lot going on. But again, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to stop thinking about if you can do it, but you have to start thinking about how you can do it and who are the people you need to help you get it done. When you start thinking about that, it'll be transformational for your journey. And then the last point I do want to make is let's talk about the fact that I hear a lot of folks say that the reason why they suffer is that the fact that coaching doesn't manifest in the way that they think it should. And here's what I often hear. I often hear a lot of doc students saying they need a one-on-one coach and don't know if a group coaching model works. And I find that very interesting, right? Because a lot of times when we peel back the layer, when I ask the question, well, what do you mean by one-on-one coach? Why is one-on-one coach helpful? And they say, well, I need someone that provides me that kind of specific critical feedback that's pertinent to my situation. And what I always tell them back is that in the Velocity Group Coaching Program, we actually do provide that within the group container. It just so happens that what most folks think about as a one-on-one coaching is one-on-one private coaching, where it's just you and a coach kind of in a similar, kind of like, think about a therapy session, right? One-on-one like that. However, with the group model is that you're not only getting your questions answered that are specific to you in the group, but then also the magic happens because you have other members in your cohort who are at various points in the dissertation process who are asking questions as well. And so a lot of times the questions you may not have even thought of, because either it's not happened to you yet, is getting asked in the group. And so it gives you opportunity to start thinking forward and thinking ahead of the dissertation process. That's why I find there's such magic with having a group model. And that's why I shifted. Initially, I started as a one-on-one program, but we shifted to the group model because I found folks were getting done faster because they had a community of scholars. And then when you think about it, right, when you're in a one-on-one container with a coach, you and the coach, you're only the knowledge you're seeking and getting is from the coach. However, if you are a person who joins us, you're typically someone who wants to become a faculty member one day. And so, as you know, and if you haven't figured this out yet, I hope you figure it out now, is that succeeding, even getting to a position a lot of times and succeeding in those positions is all about your network. And so, literally, in the Velocity Group coaching program, you are networking and building relationship with the future of higher education as faculty. And so folks in the group will then go on, to earn tenure, become deans, and all those things. And you have that built-in network. I know for a lot of doc students, that's not ingrained or part of your program where you're able to go to conferences and build that network. So you have to think about other ways to do it. And being in a group program is actually a great way to build your network, because and it also not only is about building a network, but it's also about how you can support other people that are behind you. Because I'm a firm believer, like if you want to work with us, you have to be someone who is willing to extend the olive branch to someone else and provide support. Like I don't want selfish people, because I'm not selfish. Like I want to make sure that you all are really supporting one another. Again, it's all about building that cohort, building that network, building that community. Because without community, we don't have much in this process. It can be very lonely, especially as faculty members. Because not only are you dealing with trying to write for publication, trying to teach your courses, but you're managing student expectations, you're managing service. There's all these things that are impacting where you are in the process. And so you got to start thinking about it now and reframing that mindset about only way I can get help is if I get one-on-one coaching. That's actually doing you a disservice, particularly if you're trying to become a faculty member. So I actually want you to start thinking about the transformation that can happen when you're in a group program. And how I want to give you an example is I had a client, he's actually getting ready to defend on, let's see, today's Monday. He's actually getting ready to defend on Wednesday. We just did his dissertation defense session last week before Thanksgiving. And so he came into the program, started with us in June, literally because we had the group environment and he was able to ask his questions, get specific feedback for his work. He literally wrote chapters 4 and 5 in 2 months. He started in June. We got chapter 4 from him July 1st. And then we literally got chapter 5 in August. And he had to do some back and forth with his committee over the last month or so, month and a half, get everything scheduled. And then now his defense is on Wednesday. So again, having that group environment, and I'm going to shout him out on Wednesday too, so you'll learn more about his journey. But his case is not uncommon, but it's because we built a network. You're getting that success, you're getting that help. And then not only was he able to then he's defending his dissertation, but he's also already landed a job position, a high paying one at that. And so these are the things that are happening with folks who work with us in the Velocity Group coaching program. But it starts for you being willing to undo some of the mindsets that you might have, particularly around being able to invest in yourself. And so I see Dr. Ford mentioned on Instagram, she said, "You're so right. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help." Yeah, it's just no need to go through this program to suffer in silence. Like it really doesn't, and it really it really is a detriment to you. And you really have to start thinking about getting that support and having the environment, right? Because I find that environment is everything to getting through the dissertation. And an environment's important to a lot of things too. But again, it starts with reframing our mindset on affordability first, just to recap. And just to give an example on affordability, because that comes up so often, is that I have to tell my own experience, right? So not only do I coach doctoral students, but I myself get coaching as a business owner, right? And so initially my mindset was around investing in my coach, like getting coached for me to help improve my business was like, oh, I can figure it out. I could do it on my own. And I'll just figure it out over time. I'll get it together. And a lot of you probably think like that with your dissertation. And then I started to figure out that, hey, I've done as much as I can do by myself. I literally was, as a one-on-one coach, I had grown my business to a point where I could not take on any more clients. But my mindset was like, I couldn't envision how I would turn it into a group model. And literally I had to seek out a coach, shout out to Jasmine Womack, who literally helped me shift my entire business and helped me grow significantly. And with that, I had to invest a pretty penny. I definitely made a sizable 5-figure investment in my company, but 6 figures was the outcome in return. So you all have to start thinking about it when you think about affordability, right? Imagine if I gave you $10 and I said, all right, if you give me the $10 back, I promise you in 6 months, I'll give you $1,000. Would you take the bet? Most people be like, yeah, give me my money. I'll wait for you. And that's the same thing that's happening with the dissertation. You sitting in a doctoral program is costing you money, but the fact that once you invest in yourself, and again, working with us is not cheap at all, but once you invest in yourself, you get the support that you need, and you get out of the doctoral program, you have so much opportunity for you on the other side. And this is something I love to help folks do now with their doctorate. It's like, how do you leverage it and build your consultancy? Because I think that is so important. It's something that in doctoral programs we don't get a lot of help on how to build the consultancy and how to build it in a way that not only is financially beneficial but provides impact to others. Like, I'm at the end of the day, I'm all about helping other people get to where they need to go. Doing that, seeing folks outshine me, is like the best thing that can happen for me as a coach, as a person. My background is a music teacher and special education teacher, and I guess as a teacher, you always want to see your students excel more than you ever could imagine. And so that's what I want to do with you all. So I definitely want to help support you all finish your dissertation, but then also how to package your research, how to package your intellectual property, and then leverage it and build your own business and consultancy for yourself, so that as you're succeeding as a faculty member, getting your publications, doing all that, you can also be building your consultancy. Because if anything ever happened in higher ed, you need to leave, you have something immediate to fall back on. And again, this is the thing that you have to start thinking about that's going to happen to you after you finish your dissertation. But the fact that you keep staying in a program suffering because you figure out that you're going to try to do it yourself makes absolutely no sense. You're wasting too much time and too much money to not have the support that you need. And so to conclude and to wrap up for today, I want to tell you all, if you are a doctoral student and you find that you have been going through this dissertation process for too long and you are ready to get done with your dissertation and to go on to become a faculty member, and you want to be able to succeed in doing all those things and managing life and all those things that you have going on, I invite you to apply for the Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program. Our January 2022 cohort is filling up fast. We literally only have 5 spots remaining. So if you've been thinking about or been on the edge of applying, make sure that you visit www.velocitydissertation.com to apply to work with us, because we're going to start cutting it off in the end of the month. And thank you, Carrie, on Instagram for that post. I'm going to go ahead and pin that. And so again, it's www.velocitydissertation.com to get the support that you need to get through your dissertation process. So again, we are a program that's not only trying to help you get your dissertation done, we're going to give you the strategy and support to do that, but then also we are going to help you secure that faculty position should you be applying and on the market. And that is your goal, next goal after you finish. And so with that, I want to stop for a moment, take any questions, comments, concerns that you all might have about getting through the dissertation process or anything that I mentioned today. And a shout out to Tiffany. I see that you're on Instagram. Tiffany is currently one of our clients, already coming in and getting things set up and getting established with the committee. So we're looking forward to helping her get done with her proposal, get that ready to defend here soon. And while folks are thinking about any questions or comments, what I want you all to do and think about, and just to recap from today's video, is that there are 3 main areas that I'm seeing why doctoral students, 3 reasons why doctoral students are suffering through the dissertation process and why they won't get help. And the first is that you often think about the affordability of a program. Second is that you're often considering, like, not only can I not afford it, but you don't want to invest in yourself because secondly, you don't believe that you really have what it takes to finish your dissertation and everything else that's going on in life. And then lastly, because of that, you find that the dissertation coaching, if you were to invest, has to be in the format that you think it best will suit your needs. But to be honest, what I found from doing this, working over 100 doctoral students, the group environment is actually more impactful than the one-on-one group coaching that you're traditionally thinking about with a one-on-one with you and the coach private. But now I want you to start thinking about the group coaching model as actually getting individualized support. This happens that other folks can listen in on the conversation about your dissertation. And said Tiffany says on Instagram, cues a plan sheet for January. And so are you talking about putting together your document? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tiffany. If you could elaborate for me. And again, if you find that you are in the doctoral process trying to get through, you need support, and you know that this video was impactful for someone, maybe send this out to 3 people who you think could get value from the video. Because again, I want to help support doctoral students, whether or not you work with us, because my goal is to see a lot of folks out here finishing these doctoral programs, not amassing student loan debt to not have anything to show for it. It just hurts me when I see folks, racking up $150,000 of debt and don't have a degree. Literally, you've done yourself a disservice at that point. So you got to get through this doctoral process. There's so much waiting for you on the other side. And I didn't believe it. And then now I started to see it. And then particularly when I started to start writing for publication, but then also started thinking about how do I connect with others based on my area of research and really building momentum in my consultancy. And so there's an opportunity here that folks are missing out on. They're literally professors. And if there are professors on here, you can attest to this. They're literally professors that are making more in consulting than they are in their actual faculty salaries because of their area of expertise. And initially I thought it was impossible, but now I see it. Folks making 6 figures quite easily. And the reason why is because they have an area of expertise. But it all starts from getting your dissertation done. Without that, you can do and create, momentum with your work as a consultant, but having that doctorate really puts you a step above the rest and able to then command the top dollar for your expertise. Oh, gotcha. Tiffany says, how do we plan the steps to complete the dissertation? Yeah, you could be definitely working on your completion document, because you definitely want to start thinking about putting all the plans in place, getting your timeline together. That is really important and something that often as doc students we forget about. There has to be a plan in place to get through the dissertation process. If we're just going at it thinking I'm just going to write, it just will never happen. You have to have a strategy and plan. And that's exactly what we help you do. And so with that, I'll take any last questions that folks might have. Again, we talk about the 3 reasons you refuse dissertation coaching, even though you are suffering. And again, folks talk about they can't afford dissertation coaching, but I always say you can afford for what you want. Folks are quick to go on vacation, quick to buy a new Louis bag, and quick to buy a new car, a luxury car, but they are slow to invest in themselves. Please help it make sense. I don't understand how it makes sense to me. So I want us to start thinking about and changing our mindset about investment. There's no need to go through a doctoral program by yourself suffering because you literally are spending thousands of dollars anyway with no progress. And I get folks who come to me all the time to say, I've been in this doctoral program, haven't been making momentum. And then we talk about working with us and they say, oh, I had to pay for the service. It's all of a sudden like, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's like, hey, you're going to pay regardless. You're going to pay with time and money. And a lot of times when you haven't been finishing your dissertation, you're paying with time and money. And so it's costing you so much. And then you're missing out on the opportunity cost by not being able to build your consultancy. And so again, on the low end, you literally can make $18,000 on the low end by having some digital products as a book, by maybe having a consulting package that you market to organizations, as well as doing keynote speeches in your area of expertise. On the low end, you could really be making $18,000 easily as a consultant. So you're willing to give that up for not investing yourself a couple $1,000s to get through the process. That's a decision that you definitely have to make. But again, there's no need to be in this doctoral program for this long to not have any progress to show for it. And my goal as a dissertation coach and dissertation coaching program is to not only help you get through the dissertation process, but land your faculty position. And then for those of you who have a doctoral degree, which you'll start hearing more and more about as we're proceeding into 2022, is that we also have a program for you all who have finished your dissertation and now are trying to figure out how do I turn my dissertation into publications and build my consultancy. Because those two go hand in hand. There's a certain strategy that I think you need to put in place in order to build your consultancy in the right way that works for you as a research expert. And so again, you'll be hearing more about that in our dissertation and publication mastermind. But again, if you're a doctoral student who is ready to get help with the dissertation, I invite you to shoot me a DM wherever you're seeing this, or visit www.velocitydissertation.com to learn more about how you can get the support you need to finish your dissertation ASAP. And so again, I want to thank you all. If there are no questions, I'm going to jump off. But if there are no questions, again, I want to say thank you all for your Monday evening with me. Again, it's Dr. Ramon Goins with the Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that doctoral students can write and defend the dissertation in 1 year or less and secure their faculty position. And so if this is you and you're looking to do both of these things, you are the person for us. So make sure that you apply. And again, we have 5 slots remaining. Like, we don't have our cohorts too big because we want to provide, again, individualized attention within a group coaching program. So if you need support, don't wait, because you're going to wait till the end of December or beginning of January, and we're going to be closed up, and then you're going to be wondering, well, what happened? And so again, opportunity cost. So it's like right now is the best chance. Take advantage of it while we have slots remaining. Again, we have 5 slots remaining. And so with that, I hope you all have a great evening. And I look forward to talking with you all next week on another episode of talking about how to get through the dissertation process and reclaim your time. And thank you all so much. I hope you all have a blessed evening. Peace.